Well, we're going to end it here for today because we've got a very exciting conversation coming up. But there's so much stories on myjoyonline.com. If you should visit there, stories we have Mahama and of course taking on the Vice President Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. There's also an update on the fire at Parliament House this morning, plus other stories making the page on myjoyonline.com. Now, as the excitement builds towards the 60th OGuaa Fetu Afahye celebration this September, the Oguaamanhen Osaberima Dr. Kwesi Attah II sat with Super Morning Show host Kojo Yansen for an exclusive interview. He shared the highlights of his 25-year reign, exploring some of the often secret aspects of the traditional leadership, the role of chiefs in modern society, and the significance of the double celebration that has focused the eyes of the world on the city of First, Cape Coast. And so that is coming up pretty shortly. But for now, that's it for today. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Gomez. Tomorrow, same time, I'll be here with another exciting edition of The Pulse. But I'll leave you in the hands of Kojo Yansen for that exciting conversation with Osaberima Kwesi Attah II.
Thank you so much for having us, Osaberima.
You're welcome.
25 years on the throne. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
It must fill you with memories of this, 25-year reign. What would you say are the highlights of this time that you've spent as Oguaamanhen?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings of the years, the 25 years. Some are good, some are not so turbulent. What has happened is that I'm glad there is still peace in Cape Coast. I've been able to maintain that peace, which is a precursor for developments, and that is what I'm happy about. The other side of it is, chieftaincy problems. I wasn't an exception. I've been in and out of court for, I will say, 23 years. It was just recently that I came out with the Supreme Court saying that legitimately I was the Oguaamanhen.
After 23 years?
After 23 years. By the grace of God, I've been able to survive that.
Did that affect your ability to reign?
In a way, you ask yourself whether it was really worth this position which your elders have placed on you. But then you tell yourself that you can do it irrespective of what the circumstances may be. So that has, in fact, pushed me on to be here where I am now.
So you've talked about one of your major achievements, which is the maintenance of peace in your traditional area. How did you do that?
I see myself as one of the ordinary people in Cape Coast. When it comes to Brofo, Ayabaka Brofo. When it comes to Fanti, Ayabaka Fanti. When it comes to displaying your skills as a joker, so that people don't see you as a chirahododo. So whatever and whoever comes to me, I try to meet them at that level. So it's easier for them to understand me and me to understand them. And that is perhaps one of the reasons why things are what they are now.
If you had been asked to predict how your first 25 years on the throne would go, would you have been able to predict this journey, or has it all been quite a surprise to you?
You see, when you are not involved, you think it's all rosy. But when you get into it, and then you ask yourself, it hasn't been easy. It has not been easy at all. even when you try to do what is best for your people, you get one or two people criticizing you. So if you don't have that courage to persist, you will fail. And perhaps by the grace of God, I've been able to withstand all these pressures, and that is why I'm still here.
Let's go back to the beginning. The very first time you realized that you are most likely the next leader of the Oguaa traditional area. Were you aware that it was coming, or did they catch you by surprise, as it often happens to chiefs?
Well, it happened all of a sudden. I have this uncle, we call Uncle Bayo, who has been very close to me, and he named all my children when they were born. Called me one day from Accra. He was in Cape Coast. So I came to Cape Coast, and the question my uncle popped to me was, Nana, me pedamo mujmana beya. To which he wanted to give me, assign a duty for me. Will I oblige and do it? I said, Uncle, how can I refuse you when you ask me to do anything? And that started the journey. He jumped into my car, and we went around Cape Coast. He knew the elders he had to consult, and that was the beginning. The first day, that it was a Saturday, we went around about 4 elders. I went back to Accra, came back the following day, we did the same exercise. And then, after about 2 or 3 such rounds, the whole elders called me and 4 others who were also eligible to meet with them. It was like an interview, being interviewed for a job.
Wow.
We were joined by about 6 elders, yes. The first day we went through, we had to come. It went on about 3 times. So every weekend I had to come from Accra, be part of the interview. And then after that first round with the elders, they sent us to the Oman, that is the Esupifu of Cape Coast.
The leaders of the Asafu.
The leaders of the Asafu groups, that's 7 of them. So there again, we were subjected to interviews, and at the end of it all, they chose me, and a day was fixed for my internment and whatever had to do with it. And I came when I was asked to. They did whatever they had to do traditionally, and was put indoors. And I was taught a few things. After 1 week, I was outdoored, went to a prominent place of meeting for Cape Coasters, and I undertook the oath, and that is how I became the chief.
Wow. So it was actually a performance-based process with interviews.
Yes, because we had 5 gates at the time. And each gate, except one, which is the gate for the Queen Mother. So the 4 gates, each had to present a candidate.
Right.
And the elders had to select out of the 4 who they thought was fit enough for the position.
Why do you think they chose you?
I don't know. Perhaps they were looking for somebody who will represent them It was just like an election. They asked a few questions about who you are, what you want Cape Coast to become, and how you will treat your people, and ask whether there are certain things which it's only the prerogative of the paramount chiefs to do. Will you be able to do that? I said yes. So perhaps that is what convinced them that I'll be the right person for the post.
And did they talk about any perks of the job? Did they talk about, you know, a remuneration or a wage or anything like that?
It's amazing that they did not. And I regret not asking them. They didn't say anything about pegs, salary, and I didn't also ask. But in this world, it's not everything that one should ask payment for. The good deeds you perform to others, that alone is enough, or even better than financial rewards.
Before this, you were an accountant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where did you work?
I am a chartered accountant.
Yeah.
In fact, in those days, it was certified accountant, ACCA. I started my education at Akimoda. My father was a school teacher, government school teacher. So he was being transferred from one place to the other. And that's where I started in 1946.
Right.
Class 1, Class 2, he was transferred to Kibi.
Okay.
So I went there, Class 3, Class 4, and then eventually we came to Cape Coast, Government Boys School. There, 2-3 years later, I sat for the common entrance and I went to Atisada College. After that...
Which year was this?
54.
Wow.
In fact, 53, I finished. I went to Atisada in 54. Finished my secondary in 58. Applied to KNUST, to the Commerce Department, to be trained as an accountant in 1960. But then in that particular year, the Commerce Department was moved from Kumasi to Achimota. So I was among the first to be there and joined with the continuous students from Kumasi. So that was where I started my accountancy training. 2 years, 3 years later, I qualified as an intermediate. Not qualified, I passed my intermediate examination. Right. But then in those days, one had to acquire the practical experience as well. So I started graduate with the Internal Revenue. It was there that the government offered those of us who had intermediate scholarships to go to the UK to continue education. We were about 5 of us. I went to Glasgow, in Scotland, and I stayed there for 5 years. I qualified and worked 1 year at Scotland, and eventually came back to IRS as an investigating accountant.
Investigating accountant. Wow.
Then later on, I transferred to Deloitte and Touche. Deloitte is one of the best, 6 biggest accountancy firms in the world. So I was privileged to work with them to the extent that I even became a partner.
Wow.
After 13 years. I resigned, went to Mankwazi as the chief internal auditor, and from there to Waste and Freitag, a German construction company. And it was there that suddenly I was asked to come and be the Paramount Chief of Cape Coast after this interviews and whatnot. So eventually I had to resign and become a full-time Paramount Chief.
Do you miss it, professional life?
I do. But then I feel this is a bigger responsibility than being there.
Was it a culture shock when you became the Paramount Chief? Did you suddenly find that things that you used to be able to do quite easily as a civilian
I must say that, you see, we all have friends. And when we meet as friends, a few unspoken words come up.
Yeah.
We joke, we drink, we do all sorts of things. Unfortunately, this time I cannot do that. You may think it is a restriction of your movements, but then, as a leader, you must set an example for your people to see you in that light. Because you mount a stage, talk to your people to be of good behavior. And if you yourself are not showing that character to them, you will fail. So as a chief, one has to comport themselves and be a good example for your people. And I had necessarily had to change and be as a role model for my people.
Did you ever catch yourself slipping every now and then?
Oh, occasionally, when you meet your friends, you are tempted to do certain things, but then you immediately check yourself and do what is right.
What other restrictions come with being the Paramount Chief?
Oh, you cannot eat in public, drink in public. Your private life, even at home, you must comport yourself, even with your family. Behave like a father to everybody. You must not resent people. If everybody came to you, you must necessarily listen to them. You may not agree with everything they come and tell you, but then give a listening ear to your people. And they must, it's like a father to everybody. Your sons and daughters might feel free to come to you. But then we have people, sub-chiefs, Mochiami, and who help you in listening to complaints or whatever people have to come and tell you.
What would a typical day be like? What would you say are your daily duties, Monday to Friday, as Paramount Chief?
It's difficult. You cannot specify that maybe in the morning you have to, unless when you have an engagement, that one you have a time for it. You attend that engagement, fine. But then on a normal day, people will come to you. You can set your own maybe program that in the morning you will have to listen to people, you have to attend meetings, and that. But if there is an emergency, as a father, you cannot refuse to attend that emergency. So your days cannot be strictly according to a programmed sort of way of life.
Now, in political leadership, presidents are just as, busy, and they have such a big responsibility on them, just like Paramount Chiefs. And they have some similar problems as well, like having to deal with corruption and so forth. Is it the same?
It is. Because if you are corrupt, you cannot check your people who are misbehaving. They will point their fingers at you. our resident neighbor correcting. So we must be of good behavior so we can look after our people and check our people when they misbehave.
Do you ever have to do that? Have you ever had to deal
I've
with
had on
corruption in
a
the
few
court?
occasions, not corruption, but those who misbehaved, we had to apply the prescription for that.
Have you ever had to destool a minor chief or two?
Suspension, yes. Yes.
What would you say is the toughest part of your job?
Lack of resources. Chiefs, we are there to make sure that there's progress. But it is difficult, especially with these days when things are very hard to come by. It becomes difficult to organize and to administer your own territory. That is why we are supported occasionally by the government, but that is not enough. You cannot do anything with that. You can appeal to your people, but especially in Cape Coast where the industries here are not that many, those who can afford to support are not that much. So there's a few, yes, but not as one would expect.
What are some of the aspects of your job that you wish you had more resources to do?
You look around and see people, especially children, who are supposed to go to school, but for a lack of funding from their parents, it's not happening. And you as a paramount, you owe that responsibility to make sure that all children go to school for the future development of the country. And if you don't have that resources, it's a bit disturbing. So this, and also facilities, and the Metro Assembly helps. But there again, they don't have that much to go around everybody. And you as a chief must also look for some finance support to augment what the Metro Assembly can do.
How would you describe your relationship as Paramount Chief with the political leadership, whether state level or regional level? How would you describe your relationship with them? Do they work well with you? Do they rely on you for certain aspects of governance? How is that relationship?
I mean, we are partners, irrespective of what party is in power or not. We are supposed to be partners. The party in power, together with the chiefs, are all partners to develop the whole country. And we, being part of the country, are supposed to be in good terms with all parties, so that one can rely on them, and they can also, when they seek your support, can also give it back to them.
And for you, that relationship has worked well?
Oh yes, I'm friends with everybody, including party activists, everybody. You cannot go against or not be free with no.
So let's talk a bit about Fetu Afahye.
Yeah.
The 60th celebration of its re-emergence is coming up, and it seems the whole country is excited about it. Otumfuo Setutu is coming, and he quite famously agreed within seconds of receiving the invitation. That must have pleased you greatly.
I'm very glad that he has accepted to come. I've been bothering him over the years, but any time I asked that question, there would have been an earlier invitation somewhere else. But this year, I was fortunate that at the time of the festival, he was free. So he gladly accepted to come. And I'm eagerly waiting for him to be here. As a result of that, the enthusiasm for this year's activity is overwhelming. Everybody wants to be part of the Fetu Afahye festival. And we are warming ourselves to welcome everybody to Cape Coast. So I'll use this platform to invite everybody to come to Cape Coast, enjoy themselves, and see how Cape Coast is. We are the first in everything. The courts started in Cape Coast. The formal education, government boys' school started in Cape Coast. The first Methodist church is in Cape Coast. Almost the first in. So we want to step on that to do more and stay at the top.
You know, everybody loves their hometown.
Yes.
But Cape Coast is obviously very special to you. If you had to explain why Cape Coast is so special to someone who has never been here before, what would you say?
Cape Coast, we are friendly. We have fun scenario. I say I can't. Now I'm sure you are. Bibi Bayo. And our cuisine. Our ladies know how to cook. Somebody some time ago described the way our ladies cook that. Special. People are friendly, and also because of the historical, the castle is here, the forts are here, the schools are, that endears people to Cape Coast. And that is what we want to maintain, so that always there will be, this Cape Coast will be a place where everybody will want to visit.
Obviously, the festival is bringing a lot of eyes onto the city. What are you hoping will emerge from that? What sort of sustainable progress are you hoping can stem from this Afahye celebration?
Indications that are emerging from this festival is that people, especially indigenous of Cape Coast, are now waking up to using this festival as a wake-up call for them to come establish businesses in Cape Coast, so that through them we'll widen our scope. So it's a wake-up call for everybody. We shouldn't wait for the festival alone. We should all help to build Cape Coast to a higher level.
Let's switch tacks a little bit just before we wrap things up. Many people's perception of traditional leadership or traditional rule is that it comes with a lot of spiritualism and idol worship and so forth. Set the record straight for us. How much of that is really involved in what you do?
If they said we don't worship any idol, we are Ghanaians. God planted us here. We have our own way of life. And that is what our ancestors did. And if you really go back and learn from what they did, it put them together. They had a way of solving their own problems, and they lived longer. The food they ate, and the friendship, they saw themselves as unique and helped each other. There's no idol worship. In those days, yes, we had a way of communicating with the realms around us. Fine, everybody has there are Buddhists in India. So many people, they have their own way, indigenous way of communicating with the spirits or the realms above. We had ours. So I don't think we can say we can blacklist the way we were using to communicate with our elders. And in fact, with that, burglary, I will put it bluntly, that bad atmosphere I would say did not happen in those days.